Right, so we are back and I'm going to finish this painting up. We just have a few more details to get in. So I don't think this will take more than an hour. It should take a lot less actually. So this is where we left off at the end of part 4. Here, I'm just show you some up close details on this. We're getting very close. Pretty much feel that most of the foreground here is done. Most of this middle section here, pretty much done. And so I have, what's left I have to do is I have to use and put in this little like lifeguard house here, lookout house here. So that's going to go right here. And so thinking about how I'm going to do that, since I already have oil pastel already in that section, I think I'm going to take my knife, palette knife, and I think I'm going to try to scrape back some of this oil pastel here, which will then allow me to, hang on a second, I got to stop this, hang on. I just had to add my little microphone attachment to my iPhone. Helps with the voice when I go back and edit this. Okay, so picking back up, so I'm going to take my little palette knife here, just make sure I have a clean edge here, and I'm going to see if I can scrape back some of this oil pastel up in here so that I can put in that little guardhouse there. So so let's see how I can do that. I'm just going to kind of scrape it off a little bit. Get back to the paper. And let's see, you can almost draw with it, kind of get that general shape of the lighthouse here. And this will make it easier to draw this in. Otherwise, I'm going to be having to work on layers on this, and that might be a little hard for me. So when I initially put in the sky, I should just let this whole area alone and not try to cover it with the blue. But with oil pastel, it does stay movable, kind of wet for quite a while, several months, even up to a year or more. So it's very easy to work on it, I think. One of the benefits, in my opinion, about oil pastel is that you can leave it alone for quite a long time and it'll stay wet and movable and workable, allowing you to keep going if you want to way later on. And so you see what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of scraping back to the paper, kind of scratching back, and trying to kind of the general shape of that little lighthouse there, just to give me some paper here to work on here. And I think it'll be easier then to draw it in. And then if there's any white left over, I can come back in with that blue and kind of fill that in here. All right. So that's one trick you can use if you make a mistake like I did here where you just kind of cover up a little bit too much. You can kind of scrape it back. And of course, it depends on the surface, right? So if you have a really textured paper, this is going to be a little harder to do. But this is a very smooth surface, so it's very easy to wipe that back. Another reason why I like the smooth paper is it allows for me to do this very easily. It allows for scratch back to happen very easily. So let's see. It's kind of this shape here, kind of this squarish rectangle shape here. I don't want to put too much pressure on it. You don't need to. The oil pastel is very soft. If I did too much pressure, I would actually probably scratch into the paper and maybe even tear it to the other side. I don't want to do that. So it's very just kind of light scraping going across. Okay. I think that's about right. That's where that little guardhouse will be. Okay, so that's good. So yeah, palette knife works good for that. I just found a nice clean edge that I could work with, making sure there wasn't anything on here. You can see this palette knife is well used. It's very old. It's been through a lot of paintings, so it's a good little tool to have. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a gray. I'm going to try with this Mungio gray stick here. This is a Mungio oil pastel. And I'm going to start drawing with the gray first. I'm just looking at the general shape of this. Okay, just look at that shape of that guardhouse. It's pretty much a square on top of a kind of a rectangle, right? You got a kind of a squared shape on a rectangle. So the base of that's a little wider, and then you have this top portion with the windows and then a roof, and then you have these antennas and things sticking up. All right, so just look at the shape and just draw that shape. It's really all we're doing here. Looking at the shape, and I choose gray because if I make a mistake with the gray, it's not going to be so dark. I should be able to cover it up with the blue sky very easily. Also, I want it to match sort of the same values as the rest of the area that it's around, so I don't want it too dark. I don't want it to stick out too much. So I find just starting with a gray or like a light brown or something like that is going to be the best for it. Okay. And it doesn't have to be exact to my drawing, but generally what we have here is we just have this kind of rectangle shape here, and I'll go ahead and just fill that in with this here, with this Mungio. Right, just a light fill, and then I can just take my finger here and kind of move it around, kind of cover up that white of the paper here that I scraped back, right? And just using kind of the tip of my finger and just kind of soften it out a little bit, move it around, kind of getting the shape, overall shape. And then on top we have more of a squared shape here, where these where there's basically some windows and a little door and stuff. So we'll go ahead and do that right there, just the general shape of it. Also making sure that my lines don't lean one way or the other, and I think they're kind of doing that right here. So I'm gonna kind of come back on this side here and just try to straighten those out. Okay, and then we'll take a finger, or if the finger doesn't work for you, you can just take a little stump like this and just kind of fine tune that. You can even change the angle of the lines by doing this. So I need to make it straight over here, a little bit straighter. All right, so I'm just kind of filling it in with this gray. We're going to come back in with the color and the details here after we do this. Okay, just get the shape right. Okay, and it's roughly like that. It's a little different. I think mine sticks up a little more than what the reference shows, but it doesn't matter. It's in general, that's kind of what it looks like. Okay. Maybe I can come back in later and put some more land here to kind of bring up the land here a little bit more. But what I'm focusing on is the general shape and making sure my lines go vertically up and the roof goes vertically or horizontally across. So I don't want things leaning here. I don't want my lines to lean. Unless I wanted my building to lean, then of course I would do that. Okay, so there's that little gray there for that. We'll just leave that there. Now I'm going to look at the color of the actual little house there. It's kind of this turquoise green color. You see the trim, it's kind of a darker green, and it's got a blue door, and the windows are kind of this dark gray, and I can see a railing that goes around it on that top deck there, and that's just basically a light gray, and kind of looking at the details and looking at the color. So let's see if we can find a turquoise color, kind of a light turquoise color that matches that color of that house. And let's see what I got. So I think this might be a good one to try out. Okay, so we'll get that one out. It might be a little strong, so we might have to come back in with a lighter blue here to knock back the darkness of that. So we'll probably use both of those. And then I kind of need a darker green for the trim, and I'm thinking maybe this one here or this one might be good for that here. These are both Senneliers, right? And I believe these was a Mungio or Neo Pastel, and I think the same with this. It's either a Mungio and oil or a Neo Pastel. Okay, I tend to take the papers off. I keep the papers on the Sens because they're so soft. So, all right, and before I begin here, I'm going to go and clean up the stick. I'm just using an old wipe here that kind of dried up. So paper towels are good for doing this. Just a regular paper towel or Kleenex sometimes. I think paper towel probably best. You want something a little dry, kind of cleans up your stick a little bit. And just making sure I don't deposit a different color down when I'm applying this. All right. And same with the scents here. With these are very strong colors, so not sure if I'll use these, but we'll give it a shot, see what it looks like. All right, let's start with this one here. So I'm gonna, again, color in just a general color of that little house there, okay? And this is a very strong turquoise green, so we're probably gonna lighten it up, but let's go ahead and start with this. So I'm gonna color this in. Color in that shape that I created. Yeah, this feels like a Mungio actually, or a Van Gogh maybe. I can just tell by the way the color is laying down. I can usually tell what brand it is by now. The intensity of the pigment and the way it feels, the softness of it, the hardness of it, kind of lets me in as far as, clues me in as far as what actual brand I'm using since I have the papers off. All right, so we're just coloring that in. All right, and all right, now I went back to the white of the paper, so a lot of that white of the paper is coming through still, which is fine. Again, just coloring it in. Okay. And actually this color turned out to be pretty good choice, I think. And I'm working on smooth paper, so if you're working on a textured paper, you're gonna have a little bit different feel and results to when you do this. For me, the pastel on a smooth paper tends to want to kind of rub off as I'm doing this. It kind of rubs off and kind of smears around, and I have to kind of add a little bit more and use my finger here. And that's just because I'm working on a smooth surface, so the texture, if you have a textured paper, I think coloring it in like here might be a little easier. Okay, that's about close to what we want to get to. All right, now I'm going to come in with this light blue. Now this light blue I used a lot in the water. I used it a lot in the sky. And I'm going to use it again here to just kind of lighten up that green, get it closer to that color that I'm seeing here on my reference picture, okay? And it's kind of this light here going across. All right. You can see how that works together, right? You can see the oil pastel kind of mixing in with each other, and the way it kind of bunches up in some places. So you just keep playing with it. Eventually it'll start working for you. That's the kind of the thing with oil pastels. At first it just not laying color down like you want it to, and you got to get through those parts. You got to kind of keep pushing through it. So it needs a bit of patience here on your side to work through those hard parts of oil pastel. Right. I'm finding that with this medium, the more you put down, the easier it starts to become. The more oil pastel you put down, the easier it will be to work with. All right. And if you have to use a fixative to make that happen, if you only have one or two brands, you don't have several brands here like I have, where you have different consistencies of oil, wax, and pigment. Maybe you only have one brand you're working with. Maybe you're working with just Crépaz or Pastels or something. The more you can get down on the paper, the better, the easier it's going to become for you. Okay, and if you have to use a workable fixative to get layers, then that's just what you'll need to do. All right. So just keep at it. Don't give up. I'm going to again come back in here with more of this green color. Again, just adding more. Put a little bit more pressure down. All right, just kind of move it around. All right. And again, I'm working on that smooth paper, so this part just takes a little longer to cover that white of the paper up. But the benefit of working on smooth is I can, I'm gonna grab another stump here. I want something that's a little cleaner, hopefully. Just making sure I don't have a different color on this. So I kind of wipe it off that there's something there already. That way I don't transfer a different color. And this just kind of helps see the finger's a little too wide on something more detailed like this. So a stump with a little stump here with a fine point helps me position that color where I need it to go. Okay. All right, so my little house kind of sticks up a little farther than what I'm seeing on the reference, but I don't really care. Right? Don't want to get too stuck up on those kinds of things, because then you're just kind of battling yourself as you're going through this. It's better just to let some things go, right? Okay, and if I need to, I can always bring up this rock up a little bit more and kind of cover some of that up a little bit more, which I'll probably do. Okay, so now let's take this, let's see, it's going to be one of those. Maybe we'll try this one here. And what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the trim. You can see here those two shapes with this kind of the square and the rectangle. You'll see the trim going across, indicating where that top deck is, and then you have the stairs here, right? And then you see the roof there. Okay, we'll just use this green to kind of help define that part of it, okay? So it's right here, right at that. I'm just trying to find an edge here on this stick here. This is a very rounded stick, so trying to find an edge here so I can kind of see where that oil pastel stick is touching the paper, where it's going to drop the mark, and a little bit of a light pressure here to kind of create that little line, kind of like that. Right? Now if you want to at this stage, you could probably use colored pencil and like an oil-based colored pencil, which I have some of those, if that helps it easier trying to find that line. Totally use whatever you need to use to get that advantage. Okay, but I think that's pretty good. I think also what I'm going to do is get it in my Prussian blue stick here, and we might darken that up a little bit using the Prussian blue. Again, thinking about values every time you're touching, you're painting, you're thinking about, what I'm thinking about is the intensity of this color, the darkness or the lightness of it, and where I'm at in the painting, right? So if you notice, darker values, stronger colors, foreground area, right? Mid-value colors, mid-value darks and lights in the middle part of my painting. Okay, and usually the lighter highlights, the stronger highlights are going to be in the foreground. Okay, so I don't want a dark color here. I want this mid-value dark, which is Prussian blue, is perfect for that. And we're just going to go over that with a little bit of this Prussian blue just to darken that line. Okay, and if I think it's too dark, I can take a stump and I can just go over it with the stump and kind of lighten that darkness up. Okay, push back the intensity a little bit. Now we have the stairs here, and I'm looking at the reference, see where it starts here at the top, see how it angles down, try to find a clean edge. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. And then I'm going to take that Prussian blue. I want to darken it just a little bit. Okay. Then I'll take my stump here and just really, yep, just like that. Just like that. Okay, straight lines. Okay, now we have a roof. All right, so the roof, I think I'm going to go in with the sharper stick with the Prussian blue first, just because it's just a pointier edge here. Okay, and I'm just looking, I'm trying to find a nice cleaner, sharper edge on that here. And just go slow. You just go, first I find where the oil pastel hits the paper, and I just kind of make a mark like that, and then I kind of work it across. This is that roof that kind of sticks out kind of goes over the top there on both sides. Okay, a little bit of blue there, and then we're going to then take the stump, really kind of work that back. Okay, that's about right. Again, not have to be perfect. And then there's an angle on that, just because of the angle of where we are. We're kind of looking up at it, so you're going to see a little bit of an angle here. And just kind of draw that in, kind of where it kind of comes down to the other side of the building. Again, just take a really small stump. These stumps are really handy for work like this, where it's really tight. And your basic, I put a little color down, and then I use the tips of these, and sometimes I'll wipe it and kind of make it a little bit pointy here by kind of twisting it, right? And this is like a little paintbrush. Okay, just like that. All right, and then come back in with this color here. And again, I'm looking at my reference while I do this, making sure these details are there. Okay, now we have a blue door. I think I'll do that blue door next. Kind of that same turquoise color. Maybe it's like kind of the same as the trim, it looks like. And we'll just draw a little door here on the back half of this square, right? This little rectangle shape door. All right. Okay, so I'll drop a little color down, and then I really fine-tune the shape of that with this stump. You can kind of really move that color where you want it to go. Right? I need a little darker, so let's go with the Prussian blue here to make that a little darker. So put a little blue there, and then since it's such a small little area, again with the Prussian or the pointy little stump here, I can really position that color, manipulate it, move it where I want it to be, and make it like an indication of a door, right? Okay, moving right along. Now, let's look again at these details here. We have a window, right? What color is the window? Dark gray, right? Okay, let's find a dark gray. Let's see if this dark gray will work. Now, this is a Neo Pastel, obviously, and just a dark gray. And since I'm going to be making more detailed shapes, I kind of want to peel back the edge of this paper here. It's just so I can see the edge of this stick here where I have some clean edge here. Okay. I'm going to work on that edge right there. And what I'm going to put in is that window. Now this is a dark gray, so it's going to be a little stronger than that blue, but that's kind of what I'm looking for. Right, because right at that area right there in the front, there is that window. Okay, notice how my hand, I kind of rest my hand against the surface a little bit, and you can see the hand here picks up a little color from here. That's okay, but what I do that because if I rest my hand here, I'm not shaking, you know. I have kind of a base here to hold on to, and it just helps me keep my hand still. Okay, there's that little window, and then again with the stump here, kind of fine tune it a little bit. You can move it around, kind of square off the lines with that, position it where you want it to go. Okay, so that's kind of what that window looks like to me, if you see it there. Okay, all right, and then kind of reinforce lines. All right, I think I want a little bit of a darker roof. A little roof line here I think needs to be just a little bit darker, maybe a little bit more pronounced here. So I'm going to kind of bring it up a little bit more. Okay, very slow, very detailed work, so I really slow down put just a little bit of color in it, and then I really use the stump here to get the details, move that color around. Very handy tool, these stumps here, and I'm always replacing them at the art store. I usually get a new set here, and I get different sizes there. So I have the big ones here for more of a general blending, and then these really small ones here like this help get this kind of work done. Okay. Cool. Now, let's go look at the railing. There's a railing going around, and it's kind of like a light gray color. You can see very faint rail. Now, you could use a pencil for this, actually. You could probably scratch in some pencil marks. But I'm going to see if I can make it work with this Mungio stick here, this light gray, or regular gray is what it is. And just kind of make faint indication of a railing. It just basically goes right across here, kind of cuts right underneath that window, and the paper is moving on me, so we'll go to this side here. All right, and then it goes right to the edge of that there, and then there's some vertical post part of the railing here and there. Okay, something like that. All right, and then even on the stairs, I see railing on the stairs, so kind of follow the same line on the stairs. Okay, and just draw in those vertical parts of it, you know, the posts that for the railing. Right. And then again, if I need to, and I think I will, I'm going to go over here with this stump. Again, try to get a nice tip. And kind of tune it up a little bit with that. Okay, there you can see an indicating of a railing there. So, right now we're getting there, right? It takes a little bit more work. I think I might want to go in a little bit darker. This stick here might actually be a Mungio because of the way it's working. It doesn't drop a lot of color into it. And I have to kind of work that in a little bit. So I kind of want a little darker. And so I'm thinking maybe what I might do is just put some Ascend into it, very light, and then I'll come back in with this stump and mix that color into it just to get me a little bit more down. Okay. So again, different consistencies of oil pastel give you different results, different brands give you different results. The Ascends are so colorful, strong pigment, very soft, that a little color goes a long way with these. Right, you can put a little color on top of another brand like that and then really mix that in just to get a bit stronger there, right? Because I think there's a little bit too much white coming into the paper. Okay, and then I'm going to take a darker gray here, and I'm going to go over that railing because I think I want it to be a little darker. I want it to come out a little bit more to the viewer. So take a darker gray and just go over that. All right, those lines are fine, so I don't want to make them too thick here, but just a little darker. And I think I'm going to make that window there a little darker as well. So let's see, maybe we'll use, if you look at the window here, right, you can see where the darkness parts of it and where it's lighter. So again, thinking about values here, I don't know if I want to use a black, but I'm going to try putting just a little bit more down on this Prussian blue here. Just make the window a little darker. And then it's reflecting a little bit of light, so maybe a little bit of a light gray here. Again, these are very fine, detailed parts of it. Okay, and maybe we'll get a little bit of a black, actually. Maybe that one. Okay, I don't know what brand this might be, but it's a little bit of black. Okay, now I've got to be very careful. This is a very strong color, this black. I don't have black anywhere else in this section, so I'm going to have to be very careful with this, but I just want to see what that looks like. because I think that I want the window to kind of be a little darker, right? Okay, so just a little, and then get the shape of that roof, right? The way the roof kind of overhangs. Okay, and then we can use this to lighten up some of that green if I need to. Okay, so when it comes working like this, I just go slow. I'm gonna add a little bit of this black here to the roof as well, just a little. I want a little bit darker than the blue, maybe. Again, very little pressure when I put that color down because of how strong that will be if I don't do that. And then use the stick here to kind of change that value of it. All right, starting to look a little better. And I'm going to go around this perimeter of this window here, drop a little, trying to find where that stick hits the paper, kind of there. Okay, and then I use that little gray to kind of pull it in a little bit of window reflection here. Okay, these very fine details. You just go slow, you look at your reference, you kind of find where those details are, and you just put those in. And then we have the door here. I'll put a little bit more of this green onto it just to darken it. Maybe a little bit more of the blue here. Maybe on that trim a little darker blue. Okay. Trying to keep my camera on the work here because this is a very small area here. All right, so you get the idea. And now let's add in, and I think I'll use a dark gray for this. Let's add in those antennas. Those really long antennas sticking out the top of the roof here. We got 2 of them, and they're kind of right here. So we have one. Now I'm looking at my hand. I'm looking at where I'm going to kind of have to do something like this. So I'm not touching that blue sky, but kind of right here. There's one going up here, right? And then we have one a little shorter right there. That's a little crooked, but yeah, it's all right. And maybe some other little marks on it. Okay. And then again, you can use a stump here, and you can kind of smooth out that line a little bit, maybe straighten it out even. But that's about right. Again, don't worry about too much. Can go bad on you here. And a little bit more on the railing. Okay. Right. Now let's look at it again. All right, so there seems to be a backside to that because of the angle of the building here, and I didn't really put that in, but I'm going to see if I can add it now. It's kind of backside here, and it's a lighter color, so right here at this back part is the angle of that back part of that building changes because we just see a small part of that back part, right? So this is a cube shape, okay? And so the back part of it, we kind of see a little bit of it, all right? And what I need to do is use a different color here to then differentiate between the side of the building here and then the back part of the building here. Okay, you just kind of work that in. Might even take a little bit of this blue here to help with those dimensions here. I might even come down here. See how I just added that little line there and how that changed that dimension? Follow what I'm seeing here in the reference photo. There's a corner basically, right there. See how that really changed the shape of it? Okay, just little things like that, little details like that. Just helps, and you just go slow. You just kind of go one piece at a time. Trying to find a nice edge here where I can kind of come back in with this light blue and lighten up that back part of the building. Okay, and then you come in with the Prussian blue or that green there. Just put in a little line there right at that corner just to help me create the dimension correctly, and then we'll come in with this green here. And the way this green is working, it doesn't drop a lot of color, so that happens. Okay, that's about right. And then maybe go a little darker on the roof up here also. There we go. That's a little better, isn't it? Okay, so you understand that. Okay, so now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to the sides, kind of color in the rest of the sky here. Kind of clean off the stick. We're getting close to done, guys. This is kind of the last parts of this. I'm also going to bring up the land here and cover up some of that here. So, but right in here, I want to. There's some gaps in color here I want to kind of cover over. You can see right there I have part of the white of the paper coming through. Okay, so kind of clean that up around, move it off far enough to the side so I don't create a halo effect around this building, which can sometimes happen around objects. You put it in and then you have to kind of color around that. Here you don't create a halo around the object. And you can see the oil pastel crumbs kind of building up there, which I just kind of wipe away. All right. And then you can come back in with this color and kind of straighten up those lines a little if you need to. And make sure I have a clean finger to move that around. Right, because I'm working on smooth paper, so it tends to want to leave bare spots here. Right. Again, just keep adding more. Just keep adding more color. If I need to, I can bring in a different blue, maybe this one. Add that in, and that'll help kind of cover those gaps. Help with that a little bit. All right, and then pinky here. That's the cleanest finger for right now. You just got to find a clean finger here. You can see the more I rub, the more it wants to rub away. So I have to be mindful of that on this smooth surface here. is that some parts will be kind of bare, and it's just about kind of covering that up here. Right now I could bring in a Neo Pastel, that crema. Where is the creme? I know it's there. I knew I had one that I was already using. I don't know if I want to use that one, but I might have to since I can't seem to find it. Things get lost here sometimes, so we'll just grab a new one. Cream. Neo Pastel cream. It's like butter. And it's soft, and it kind of helps fill those gaps in, provides a little bit of warmth to the horizon. All right. And it's a soft stick. Okay. And it helps really blend in with that blue. That's what I use down in here. I don't know if you can hear, my dog is snoring. Okay, just want to get a smooth look on that sky. The disadvantage of working on a smooth surface like this is this kind of stuff happens very easily, where I kind of rub off oil pastel by too much blending or pressure. So texture paper here, this would be a little easier to cover up in that aspect of it. The benefit of the smooth paper, of course, is the ability to move it so easily. So different surfaces that give you different feels and results. Right, making sure I find a clean finger. I don't want to put something brown in the sky there. I'm going to bring up this land here, so let's find that brown, cocoa or brown, kind of that cocoa Neo Pastel here, and I'm just going to kind of bring up, dropped a little bit of a dark blue there, that's okay. Kind of bring up the land up at an angle, just like I see there in my reference. I can see more of an angle here. Okay. And it's a little dark. I dropped a little bit of a dark there, but that's okay. We'll make it work. We'll add in some darks. Fine tuning. This is kind of the fine tuning stage here. We kind of fine tune the marks here. I think that's better. A little bit of a incline right there. Okay, maybe a little bit of a dark right behind that little bump. Right. Maybe get some of that bright green here where the sun hits some of these plants here, kind of. Right. Just kind of add in some bright lights there, some highlights here, kind of where that sun comes and hits that. All right, let's take a look at this for a second. All right, I think it's looking pretty good. Again, that. Right, I might actually bring in, looking at that a little further, I might actually bring in a light gray to this back half here. Just, I want a little bit more of a lighter value. And these are, I'm just guessing here, right? I'm guessing what I think will work, and I find that stick and I try it out. Okay. That's the fun part, is guessing, and then guessing when you guess right. All right, my lines got a little messed up, so I'm going to bring in blue here. What I'm trying to do is find the edge where it hits the paper. See where that's at. A pencil here would be very helpful, but I'll just use this stick. Find that edge. Made it a little bit wonky. It's okay. Again, I can always use my stump here to kind of straighten it. And sometimes wonky is good. All right. Maybe a little bit of this blue. Again, guessing. I want a bit more of a smoother look to that side there. Right? I think we're pretty good on it. It's not totally straight, but I think I'm going to come out on this edge a little, where that deck is. Come out a little bit further from that. Right? Again, angles. Right? So that's pretty close. I could spend a lot of time trying to perfect it and then probably mess it up, but that's pretty close. I think the angle's about right. Okay, I'm gonna clean up the hands here because I don't want to drop any marks down where I don't want them to be. And what we have here, we're 45 minutes into this, so you can see the small details sometimes take up a lot of time. But that's just what it is. I knew I had about an hour to go on this painting here. Okay, just try to cut some of this color off my hands. These wipes here are not as good as my other ones because the paper, it rips really easily. Okay, but they do an okay job of getting that oil pigment stuff off. Okay. Okay. Let's look here, guys. We're getting close. I could call it done now, but I want to know, maybe I want to add some clouds. So let's see if we can do a little bit of a cloud distant back here. And I'm thinking, what color would I do? I'm going to try first with this light gray, this sun light gray, and then we might actually go to white on it. But right here at the horizon we have, yeah, I'm probably going to have to go to white. I can already tell it's not bright enough. But right here, here's a white. Right here in the distant horizon we see some clouds. And so the white it will be. Okay, and kind of put that in, maybe smear it a little bit. Put in some clouds right there. Okay. You can see how strong that white is. That's why I always save white for last. I usually, if I need a white, I'll start with the light gray and just see what it looks like. Or I'll even use that crema for like a highlight, almost a white. And then if I need to later on in the painting, like now, where I want to put in some clouds, now I have the white to go with that actually works perfect for this part here. And we have some clouds back in here. I'm just kind of getting the tops of those and kind of smearing it. Okay. And if you can just see it up close, it's there. You can see it. Sometimes I feel when I look at it in the video, I don't know if it comes across the same as looking at it in real life, the way the colors pop out. But we have some distant horizon clouds in there. All right, now I'm going to clear off my plate there. I'll just move this back to over here. just because I'm going to look around and see if there's other fine tuning I need to do. So move this back. It's kind of my working palette area. All right. Okay. All right, so let's look at it. So see those clouds back in there. That's all you need to do. You don't want to put too much detail in it. Just tops of those clouds back in there is fine. There's a little guardhouse, lighthouse, lifeguard, whatever. There. Okay, you can see some darks here. That's a dark blue. Let's get in let's get that crema, and put some highlights on some of those. Just right on that edge. Right. A little bit more sun marks. The crema is great for this kind of stuff here. You can just kind of press in, drop the color. It's so soft that it sits right on top of all those other things. Right. So I'm going to put a little bit more pressure down and get a stronger mark. Right. So it's different. They're all the same. If they're all the same, I think it would look kind of weird. Right, just getting the highlights of those rocks. Okay. It's okay if you make a little mistake like that, no problem. Over here, again, fine tuning. Sometimes you can screw it up. I've screwed up paintings by doing too much fine tuning, because I get to a point here where I don't know when to stop. I keep kind of want to work on it, and then I do too much. Sometimes it happens. So it's good to take a break here, but I think I'm going to finish this out here. Try to keep the videos to about 5 hours total, from different 5 parts, an hour, about an hour each. This is probably going to go a little bit over an hour when I'm all done here. Just because I know how hard it is to watch something like this, where it's just me talking and doing a painting, and probably pretty boring, honestly. Just patience is just not there to watch something like this unless you're super dedicated, I guess, or maybe just enjoy watching me paint and talk. But my average view duration on my videos is somewhere around like not even 7 minutes. So I think people start watching, they realize, oh, this is boring as hell. All right, I got something better to do than watch this dude just paint. It's kind of what I think, anyways. But the goal is even if there's just one thing you pulled up, you learned one thing out of this entire thing that might help you in some way when you go to paint. That's kind of what I'm shooting for, is that I just want you to maybe learn something, help you some way with oil pastel, and really the thought process, what I think about the parts that I might have struggling with, like this little building here, and kind of how I think about that and kind of go through that. Okay? Sometimes there's a lot of guessing going on. That's okay, right? That's kind of the fun thing about it, is there is guessing going on. I am guessing. I'm kind of deciding, okay, will the light gray work for these clouds? Nope, it didn't. So I had to go right to the white. And that was, I guessed on it. And that's part of the fun of it. It's part of the painting that I really enjoy, actually. Right? As many paintings I've done, the hundreds and hundreds I've done, and the many videos. I think I'm up to 60 videos or 61 videos on this channel. even though I've done so many and have a lot of experience, there's still a bit of guessing that goes in play. And that's the fun part, right? Because it feels new every time. Still a challenge in some aspect every time. So doing stuff like this where I'm kind of fine-tuning marks and light and kind of figuring out where I want those to be. Maybe I want it a little stronger here. This kind of stuff. Okay. Now down here, oh, I got someone at my door. Hang on. Okay. Got that. It was a package. All right. All right, just continue. I'm pretty much done here. I'm kind of picking at it now. And actually down here I noticed that I have some water that I didn't put in. So let's just grab, what was I using for water? I think it was this one. Let's just kind of fill that in a little bit. Right here at the edge. Kind of missed that spot earlier. Right, and I'll have to darken that to correspond with the rest of the water in that area right in here. Kind of the water coming in between these large rocks here at the base. Right, you kind of see some of that brown coming through from the previous layer. So it's okay. And then let's get a Prussian blue to kind of darken it here. Again, it's at the edge, so I'm not too worried about that. Right, probably that will be covered up with the frame anyways, so some of that will be anyways. Okay, and then let's get in that cocoa brown color, this cocoa, and put in some color on the dark side of the rock here. Some more details there in the front. Okay. Okay. A little better. And then looking at my water down there, just want to try something else. Again, here's where I start messing things up. But where's my light gray? Right here. Okay. So maybe I want a little bit more of a kind of surface water stuff, like sea foam or like bubbles or stuff like that. So you can kind of take a light gray or a lighter color and kind of put in something on the surface there that might be floating on the top there, like usually foam, right? When you're at the ocean, right? All right, and just kind of looking around here. This is that sunlight gray, so it's really soft. It just easily sits right on top of those colors, so which is good. I didn't want it to really mix in, but I kind of want it to sit on top. Okay. Don't want to cover my rocks up here, my underwater rocks here too much there. I'll have to go back and redo that. But a little bit of surface stuff there. All right, and I'm getting, probably should just stop here and maybe call this good, right? Before I do a little too much here. All right, sometimes you just got to look at it too from back here, because I'm pretty much done with this, guys. Let's get some of that more white. Again, I keep touching it. Right here, I want a little bit more of the white on the crashing on the rocks type of thing. Okay, a little bit of water movement there as it goes across that shallowed area. And if it's too strong, you can always just take the finger and just slightly brush that to kind of knock back the intensity, because the white's really, really strong here, right? But kind of create a little bit of spray coming up from the waves. Okay. Not the whole thing. I'm not going across the entire crest of the wave, just in certain parts here where I think the light might be hitting it. And this is a guess. I'm not really looking at my reference. I'm kind of just painting and just pretending. Okay. It's good to pretend. I think I've been to the beach many times here to kind of understand and remember certain things about it. Okay. All right. I think we're gonna call this one finished. So let's sign. Let's sign it. Let's take a red and look here where I want to sign. I thought we're probably gonna go right in this corner. I like to leave this open because that's where the majority of that underwater rock area is. So right here, sign my initials. Very simple, and a fingerprint. There. Okay. And even go one further, let's remove the tape. I didn't do that last time. And somebody made a comment, said, oh, you didn't remove the tape, which is always a fun part of all paintings here. So remove the tape and show you how to remove the tape, because sometimes you can rip your painting. And I've done that lots of times. Ripped the painting by removing the tape. All right, so this is artist tape. I use artist tape, which has less kind of tact on it, not as much glue, but I kind of start up here, and I'm going to go very slow. Okay, I'm not real fast here, but if I do it too fast, it'll rip. Okay, just slow, pulling away. You can see the edge here, really clean. Very slow. Okay, and at the bottom here, that's where it usually wants to rip. There's one side. Okay, and then we go to this side. And I like taping the sides because of this. I get a nice clean edge here. And what that allows me to do is handle it, because I can hold on to the edge there. And also when I frame this, the frame will cover up all that up. Okay, so it's usually about like 1/2 centimeter in width on that. Okay, down here at the corners here, this is where it tends to rip easily, so be careful there. Okay, and then let's remove the tape here. Add it, kind of tape it to the back side, so I'm just kind of pulling it up here. Making sure I don't drop anything. Artist tape is good, or that blue painter's tape is also a good idea, because again, when you pull it up, it tends to not rip the paper or damage the painting. If I use regular masking tape, too much of that glue on the tape will ruin it sometimes when I pull it off, but always be slow on this. Okay, let's move it sideways so it'll be easier. Okay, so here, just very slow. I've ruined paintings where I've ripped it too fast and cut into the paper some, so Just go slow and pull it away like that. All right, now we'll come back here and we'll do the top one. Satisfying feeling when I'm at here. I've finished a painting. I like seeing that clean line that happens there. And I now have a finished painting. All right, did that without ruining it. All right, now we have a done painting, guys. And again, the Bristol Smooth is great paper. It's really thick, so you don't get any oil bleed on the other side there. All right, and it's thick, durable, not flimsy, not going to rip or tear on me. And let's look at some up-close details again. The smoothness of the sky, the distant clouds and the rocks there. Look at the color and the shadows. See that ochre, the browns, the blues. See that, the color in the shadow parts, the highlights. There's the building. See the dimensions of the building? See the backside of the building there? Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? See the shadow on the sand? And where the light hits the sand and the difference in those colors there. And you see that middle section of rocks. All right, look at the darks. Look at the lights. There's the wave. See the green in the wave? Right. See at the where the crest part at the top of the wave, you see the dark underneath that. The action in the water. Now here we come to the rocks here getting closer, a little bit darker value than those rocks behind it. You see where all the highlights, where the sun's hitting, kind of on that left top side. Okay, see the signature and my fingerprints in it. And then look at the darks here. These are the darkest darks. And then there, look at that underwater stuff. Look at the rocks under the water, and the darks there as compared to the darks above the water. All right, guys, I am done. And that was very fun. And again, hope you all enjoyed it. And I'll be making another one here pretty soon, actually. The tiger painting is coming. The tiger painting is coming, I promise you. I will do that. That'll be on a panel, so it's not going to be on paper. It's going to be a bigger painting. All right, look at from angles. Okay, everybody, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for watching. I'm going to upload this video. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys, your comments and subscriptions and your encouragement and your feedback, that it's helping you in certain ways. That makes me happy to read those things. Lets me know that the things that I'm doing here on this channel are helpful to some of you. And it encourages me to keep making these long format videos. So the feedback really important. So I really appreciate it. Okay, here's back from about 4 or 5 feet away here. All right. Thanks everybody again, and I'll see you next time.